Oh, Apple, why do you always do this? Why are you so frustrating? I feel like every time there's a product that's rumored that's coming out, people give you the things that you should do to make this product an easy recommendation, something that's gonna be like a smash hit that everyone's going to love. And you always look at that and go, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's do the thing that we shouldn't do and piss everyone off. At this point, I almost feel like it's part of your marketing strategy to piss people off, because I feel like this phone is making people very upset, including myself. And I shouldn't really be that upset about it, but there's just something so simple that Apple could have done here to make the iPhone 16e a much better phone, and they didn't do it. And it's just like you're looking at this product, and it's frustrating. It's just frustrating, right? It's frustrating for Apple fans. It's frustrating for people that cover this, because it's easy to give people like such a clear recommendation when they walk into an Apple store and be like, hey, this is the iPhone model you should get if you want this, and this is the iPhone model you should get that. And with this iPhone 16e, I thought this was going to be a phone I recommend, where it's like, hey, you want a budget-oriented iPhone at a good price point, get this one. And now I'm just not sure. So listen, let me tell you what the iPhone 16e is if you don't know, because there is some things to like about this phone. There are some surprises here that I didn't even think Apple was going to do, but then it's frustrating, right? So listen, it's a very simple concept. The iPhone 16e is basically taking place of the iPhone SE, which was their budget-oriented model. And yes, I guess you can argue, if you look at their website now, this is their budget-oriented model. From the SE, it is a big upgrade, right? You're removing all the bezels, you're getting rid of the home button, you're giving a modern iPhone design. It has a 6.1-inch OLED display. Like, it's getting rid of that pathetic 4.7-inch LCD display. That's great. It's getting Face ID. It's getting a USB-C port. It even gets the action button. That was something that wasn't even rumored. I thought this was going to have a mute switch, but no, it does get the action button. It doesn't get camera control, but honestly, who cares? And yeah, you basically have a modern iPhone design. You can get it in black or white. And then the best thing about this phone, obviously, is the internals. So Apple is giving you a A18 chip inside of the phone. That is the same exact chip that is in the iPhone 16. So you are getting the same power as an iPhone 16 if you choose to get this iPhone 16e. Cool, right? And then what else? Oh, the custom modem. That is something new that I wasn't, we were expecting it, but Apple says this is the most power efficient modem that they have ever put into an iPhone. And even when you look at like the tech specs real quick, or you go to compare the iPhone 16 against the iPhone 16e, you'll see that the iPhone 16e looks like it actually has a lot more battery life than the iPhone 16. So that is something that feature-wise, when I look at this phone, I'll wait till I actually get to test it, but feature-wise, if I look at this and go, you know what? That is a really good feature to have. It looks like this thing might be a battery life champ, and that is something that I am truly excited to test on this phone, to see how good that new Apple C1 5G modem is, and if those claims of this modem being super efficient and having really good cellular service are true. If that's good, this could save this phone, but we'll have to wait, right? And then the camera system, we were expecting this, right? It's a single 48 megapixel camera system, just one lens. You're not getting the ultra wide angle lens that you'd get in the iPhone 16, and you're not getting the telephoto lens that you get in the 16 Pro. But hey, this is the main camera, the 48 megapixel one, the one that most people rave about, right? Like, it's a very good camera. It's the lens that I use like 90% of the time. So even though you might miss out on some additional lenses, it's really not a big deal, right? Like, they got the most important camera system there. You can do the 2x zoom mode. It's fine, right? For what Apple is aiming for this phone. All of the problems for this phone really come down to the marketing and the price point, because Apple got rid of the iPhone SE in the lineup, and that was their budget-oriented phone. I believe it retailed for like what, $450 around there. And that was a pretty cheap price point for an iPhone. Now, in 2025, it was a bad value because you were getting an iPhone 8 design. So what Apple really needed to do was update that iPhone SE to a modern design. And I get that updating the iPhone SE to a modern design would probably increase the cost, right? You're putting a lot of expensive components in there. You're putting in an OLED display, you're putting in Face ID, right? You're putting in the A18 chip. These are all very expensive components, but hey, I'm like, you know what? Apple could still do this. They could probably still keep it at around $400. And I think most rumors are basically saying we expect with these component differences that Apple is going to raise this to $500. So even though it's not exactly the same budget-oriented phone as the SE, it's still a mid-level budget-oriented phone that at $500 I think would have been a huge success. I think if Apple introduced this phone at $500 with 128 gigabytes of storage, this would have really been like an M4 Mac Mini moment for the iPhone, where people look at the price, they look at the specs, they look at the value you're getting, and it almost is like, this is too good to be true. This is such an insane value that, yeah, if you want to go get an M4 Mac Mini, go out and buy one. Even the base level model is an insane value for a computer. But they didn't do that with the iPhone 16e because, of course, they didn't take what was the most obvious thing that people wanted with this phone, a budget-oriented phone around $500 or probably even cheaper than that, and they went, you know what? This is, I guess, the way they're pitching this now is the 16e isn't a budget-oriented phone. It's just a new member of the 16 lineup. And I'm guessing for the iPhone 17 and 18, the E model is going to be like a permanent fixture. So going forward, I think we can expect a new E model every single year. And they took that and they priced it at $599, $600. And listen, I'm not saying this is a bad phone for $600. It's still a $200 savings over the iPhone 16. You still get a lot of the same specs as the iPhone 16. You're missing out on like the additional camera lens, the dynamic island, some stuff like that. But when you look at it, it's like, okay, I guess, $200 less, maybe you could argue this is a good phone. But then there's other things that are like infuriating, like the A18, like it's missing one GPU. I don't know how that will impact performance with like gaming. And it doesn't even come with like MagSafe on the back. I feel like that's something that's so cheap that they could have put in this phone at $600 that's not in the phone, that all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I thought it was just gonna be missing a camera. I thought it was, gonna have a notch. I didn't know it was gonna be missing MagSafe. And now it's like, okay, now you're estimating, well, you get an additional camera lens, you get MagSafe, you get an extra GPU core in the iPhone 16, and now the 16e just doesn't seem like a good value. And without key design details like MagSafe or the dynamic island, I don't even think you should be marketing this as the iPhone 16e because it's not an iPhone 16. At $500, I truly believe this would have been like a game-changing moment for the iPhone lineup because Apple already owns the high-end market, especially in the US, right? Like they own that market. And I thought if they introduced a $500 phone, it would really be like a shot across the bow to like compete with Android phones at that price level. Even if you could get certain better specs on an Android phone for that price point, the overall package, the overall value that Apple would introduce and the phone running iOS and all that stuff at $500, I think would have brought a lot of Android switchers over to the iPhone lineup. I thought it would just be a clear-cut win for Apple in general. And because it's priced at $600, I just don't think it's a clear winner anymore. And there's even some frustrating things that I look at Apple's website now, and I thought, okay, they're gonna simplify this lineup so much. It's only gonna be like the 16e, the 16, and the 16 Pro, and they still have the 15 on there. And I don't know why anyone would buy a 15 that's even more expensive than the 16e, believe it or not. It's $699, $700 phone that doesn't even get like Apple Intelligence. I don't know why anyone would buy that phone, but it's still there. That's just another frustrating part of their marketing strategy. So listen, I wanted to be really excited for this phone. I'm not saying it's a bad phone. You still have to wait for reviews. You still, it's still $200 cheaper. I don't want to be like an elitist here and be like, oh, $200 isn't a lot of money. Go get the iPhone 16. Like, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that I think Apple could have delivered a better phone here at a better price point. I mean, even if they launched this at $550, I think that takes away a lot of the negativity of like this phone launch. Like pricing it at $600, this isn't really the SE model anymore. I guess that's why they're not calling it the SE. It's really not aimed strictly at a budget-oriented consumer. So I think this phone could have been so much more if they priced it right. It's frustrating. I don't know what, it'll be an interesting phone to review, I guess. It's not as clear-cut as I thought it was. So again, this is just raw emotions. We'll see. So let me know. What do you think of the iPhone 16e in the comments below? Is this a phone you would purchase, or do you think that most people should just step up to the iPhone 16? As always, if you like the video, give me a like. If you want to see more, I'm going to have some 16e coverage coming up comparing the phones more in depth. So get subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully not as frustrated and angry. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. So I'll see you in the next one with less disappointment.